We've currently got a special offer live now on poodlecfb.com for the launch of College Football 26. Use code KICKOFF, all caps, for $50 off the annual plan, or code KICKOFF 2025 for $5 off the monthly plan. You'll unlock exclusive spreadsheets, in-depth info, and our members-only Discord. Join hundreds of members in the fastest-growing CFB 26 community out there. Don't miss out and sign up now. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Poodle back with another CFB 26 video. And today's video, I'm gonna be going over how EA made this one thing so much harder in Dynasty mode. And if you haven't already, check out poodlecfb.com. Come join the fastest growing CFB community out there. You gain access to data guides, ebooks, spreadsheets, data studies, our data lab, and you get insider information on why we pick certain packages, why we go certain archetypes, why we do certain things at certain weeks, why we don't put visits at this week. You get access to all of that, and you could also help sculpt the discussion. So come join. We're at almost 1,000 members, so come join one of the fastest growing CFB communities. You use code KICKOFF, all caps, you get $50 off the annual plan, and if you use code KICKOFF 2025, all caps, you get $5 off the monthly plan. Remember, this is a recurring discount, so you are grandfathered in for the lifetime of your deal, so come take advantage. Come join early on before you pick your dynasties and dominate. Let's get into it. All right, so one of the biggest things that EA made a huge change to, and stay tuned throughout all this because I'm gonna have a few different caveats to this, ways to prevent this, and kind of how this whole thing comes together. And that's going to be what they did with deal breakers this year. And this impacts both big schools and small schools, guys. A lot of you have been talking about it from a small school perspective. A lot of you have been talking about it from a large school perspective. But I don't want to say equally impacts, but it really does. So let's go through a few scenarios and how this works for you as a user. So when you look at deal breakers, I'm gonna turn off my webcam for a second here so you guys can get a look at this. When you look at deal breakers, you see right here, Harold Perkins requires your conference prestige to be A+, and it's currently, he requires it to be a B+, and it's currently an A+. So we're safe. SEC in most leagues isn't dropping below an A or an A-, or especially a B+. But there are gonna be some that do get a bit closer, like playing style. Or what's another one right here, playing style. We have a D- for elusive route runners, but he requires an A-. That's someone that will leave me, and that's something that's not going to be fixed. So what the problem we run into this year with a few things is, yes, deal breakers are tougher, but they are dynamic. So let's just say, for instance, that this guy could have started with a C+C when we brought him in, maybe a B+, but as they go up in overall, their deal breakers can get higher. So this becomes a problem with like things like I said, pro potential, where pro potential now is your last 4 years. It's your last 4 years of actually what you've done and sending players to the NFL. So what changes here is that pro potential is constantly changing. So you could have had a really good 4 years and brought in a bunch of A pro potential guys, but then have a few bad years and now be like at a B-. Now all your pro potential guys are leaving and they're going up because remember, pro potential is constantly raising. Or deal breaker. So their pro potential could go up to an A-, A- A+ as they go up in overall. And now your players are leaving. So there's a two-front approach here from a big. So we'll start with the big school perspective. What they made much harder here is really going to be roster retention from a big school perspective. In terms of that, you're going to get a lot of players in, but you're going to struggle to retain them, which is somewhat realistic, right? In real life, as you have a lot of good players, some players there could be divish or they want to start now, but you'll run into this issue where, yeah, you can get all those 5 stars. And this changes from last year. So last year, the method was get the best recruiting method, hoard 5 stars, and have them like a factory, and just have them keep growing behind and coming in. Your roster was stacked 9 and overall. This year, you could do that, but then you run the risk of losing them all to the portal, and everyone else just getting them much easier in the transfer portal than the recruiting cycle, and having less access to them for every other school. So you have to be very careful. So what you want to be doing all the time is always going through your team and looking at your deal breakers and seeing like where you're starting to fall down. And if you see your pro potential dropping, you got to do something about it. And more so, understanding that maybe bringing in 3 5-star quarterbacks in 1 year is not the best idea because you may run a problem, especially if 2 are playing time or one of them is pro potential. And that also comes across when recruiting, because when you're actually recruiting, you run the risk of bringing in a pro potential guy to B+, and you know that that's going to go up. So you may want to actually recruit guys that fall into your line more. If you're between 2 quarterbacks, one's conference prestige and one's pro potential or playing style, you may want to go that conference prestige guy because you're going to know is in the SEC you're safe and your conference won't move drastically like pro potential or playing style or playing time will. So that's definitely one consideration. Now let's go over to like the smaller side of this before we go over like solutions and kind of what they did here. But for big schools, roster retention's a problem, and that's why the transfer portal has become so great. That's why you see Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith. That's why you see Arch Manning. That's why you see these guys there, because roster retention is much harder. So you can get to the top. You can get to the top of the mountain, but it's easy to fall off, basically. Now, where I think this is even worse is for small schools. While I think it's somewhat equal, I do think small schools run a bigger risk, and that's just because it's so time-consuming. Starting with a small school, let's go over to Memphis real quick. Starting with a small school, I totally flew past M and we're an L. It's right there. Well, let's go to Memphis real quick. You're a small school. You're 2.5 stars. You're trying to get up. You're trying to get up that peak, right? For me, the turning point for me is when you get to that 3.5 to 4 star. Once you get there with your small school, you're like, you could breathe again. Like you made it to the surface. You're not high, but you made it to the surface, and you start to feel pretty good about things. Where you run the risk is, let's just say you get a freshman halfback with elite dev, and you get him to an 89 overall, and you're a 2.5 star, and he's pro potential, and he gets to that B plus A range or even B range. You're priced out. He's going to leave you. So a lot of small schools are going to run this risk where to get a small school up, you have to do 2 things. A, get your overall up, get better players in your roster. B, win. C, recruit well, really. So it's 3 things. So you have to like slowly inch your way up like that, right? You're just like slowly inching your way up. But because of roster retention, so let's say you finally get to like here, which is like that 3-star range. And now all your guys you got to that point, they're now getting they're getting too good. Because now these guys who have like a pro potential deal breaker or any of these dynamic deal breakers are going above a B, and since you're still a 2.5 star, your school isn't good enough, and now you're losing these guys once you get there. So you have to essentially outgrow your player development, and that's not always easy to do, especially if you're not winning every single game, or you're not hitting every requirement, or you have a school that has static grades that don't move, like academic or campus lifestyle that are just bad. So you run this risk of it gets a little tough. So I think they made it much harder to build up small teams. Now, is that a good thing? Possibly. I mean, you don't want to have a 1-star school going to 5-star in 3 years. And now offline, I think it's still fine. But in an online league with like 32 guys, getting a small school up is even harder than ever, especially if you have other good teams in it. And not everyone went 1-star. So that's definitely going to be a problem this year. And they made it a lot tougher. I'm seeing videos everywhere. I'm seeing it in my own sims. These teams being decimated. Now, on the flip side, you can build through the portal, which does make sense. Like, think Deion Sanders in Colorado. You can go to the portal and bring in 15, 20 starters. You can do that now. That is a thing. But there's some attachments to bringing in your own recruits, so you really don't want to lose them. So there is a solution to this, and there is a way to do this. I'm going to take you guys over to another Dynasty to show you guys some packages and coaching packages and what you can do to really counteract this and kind of go through my best coach build and how you can kind of try to get past what they've made super hard in this game. So there is a coach ability that they have built into this game to kind of counter this. Now, you do have to work into your coach build. So I'm dropping a best coach build video for small schools. It may be out already, it may not be. Check that out. And then my ideal coach build didn't include this because, again, it depends on situational. If you're a guy who wins a lot and you're good at retaining talent and you follow all these tips, you're probably fine. But if you don't want the headache, you want to have Strategist. Strategist Tier 3, lower the bar, gives you a lower deal breaker threshold. Over on PoodleCFB.com, we did a little formula that shows you exactly how much it brings down thresholds, especially if your coordinators have it and your head coach has it. So our coach has it here, and then our one coordinator has none of them on Tier 3 at all, except for this one right here, linebackers. So on linebackers, we'd get a double boost if we had it on our head coach too, and then a 3 boost. So the way it kind of works is, let's say you bring in a player who in their senior year now has an A pro potential, or let's call it a B plus pro potential. And you're Memphis and you're only at a C plus. By having tier 3 lower the bar, your pro potential on them requirement goes from a B plus to a B or a B minus. Now having it on your coordinator too, now it goes to a C plus or a C. So now you're basically bringing the floor, the bar, you're lowering the bar down to your level. So this is a 2-pronged approach. On one instance, this allows you now to retain more players because essentially, let's say you bring in a guy with a B and you have these on, he's sitting in C. So by the time he gets up to where you get phased out, it's like his senior year and you basically can just hold on to him at that point. This also does something really cool too, and that's widen the recruiting pool, which is something people don't really factor in. So one of the biggest things to recruit with, like one of the biggest skills you can have when trying to recruit is going to be 2 things. Because when you have program builder built up, you end up having a lot of these 5-star pipelines. So see, Memphis only has 3s and nothing else. But if you had program builder built up, you'd have Tennessee, this Tennessee pipeline on 5. And then you'd have all of these 2s. I'm going to go sort by interest here. You'd have these 2s on 3s. You'd have the bronze on 2 or 3s. You'd have these on 3 or 4s. And suddenly all those top tier pipelines you have built up would give you a higher range of recruits because pipeline plays a big role in starting interest and being on their board. So first, to build up a small school and kind of negate these issues you're going to have with building them up, you get that pipeline up. But now that you have this wider pool, how can you get that even better? By building up strategists, because by dropping deal breakers, you end up in this situation. So let me show you this. Look at all these 5 stars on our board. Memphis should never have all these 5 stars available to them. You guys have played with 1, 2, and 2.5 star schools. This is a lot of 5 stars, and this is without our coordinator, coach, and coordinator all stacking. This is without that. Memphis should not have a chance to put an offer on this guy right here. They should not. And then if you use recruiting tactics and other methods, you can get them first on the board. But the problem before was you couldn't even get on their board. So think about how this skyrockets you. The reason it takes 3 to 4, 5 years to build up a small program is because year 1, you're on like 2 and 3 stars. Year 2, you're on like 2 and 3 stars. Year 3, you're on 3 and unrecruited 4 stars. And then by year 5 or 6, you finally see your first 5 stars. If you're able to year 1 just go strategist and go to a school like Memphis, which has double strategist, and by the way, again, well, single strategist and a strategist head coach, which is the double. One of the benefits of poodlecfb.com is our master spreadsheet has all the hundreds of teams laid out with all their coaches' abilities and their coordinators' abilities. So you're able to like cherry pick a team like Memphis that has double. I believe Bama has double as well, and there's plenty of, I think Arizona, there's a bunch of teams that have them. And you can go and selectively in a small school league, let's say you do a small school league startup with your friends pretty soon or family. You can go and cherry pick a team that has triple strategist or double strategist, and you can right off rip have access to a lot more players. Because as you see, this guy here has a C+ deal breaker, and I'm gonna show you this for you. This guy here is a C+ deal breaker for a coach prestige, and he's a 5-star. No, it's because I have tier 3 strategists on him that really would be in the B range, which we would barely still hit. And that's the beauty of this. Look at this guy. We have a B, they need a C+. If we didn't have strategists, his thing would have been about a B or a B+, and we would be phased out. This guy right here, we have a B-, C+, we'd be phased out of this guy too. And so on and so forth. I mean, you'll see this all day. And that's right here, brand exposure. We'd have no chance of getting him. He really is in the B, and we have a C+. This opens up your net. So if you combine this with a small school and then program builder to get the pipeline bonuses, you're going to have such a wide net of recruits. And where this counteracts what they did hard is now, okay, fine. Maybe you lose a few guys here and there, but now you're retaining so many guys that you're not going to be like turning over like you would be without it, but you're really not losing many guys. And your recruiting pool is so much bigger that you can now go in and bring in all these other guys and have access and build your program up even quicker. So their initial change to the game essentially made building a small school much harder and keeping 5-star status much harder. But by having this package, you now can actually even grow quicker and counter what they did, plus grow quicker, and then also retain your roster and keep your 5-star roster intact. So guys, that's about it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions about this or any of your small school struggles, let me know down below. I have a coach build dropping for small schools, a recruiting build dropping for small schools, a recruiting build, the best coach build for small schools, and then I have this video here to show you guys what they changed and how you can counteract it. So hopefully all this helps you guys out with small schools, and I have a bunch of stuff coming in your direction as well, as a lot of you guys do play with small schools. Thank you guys for watching. Check out poodlecfb.com for all the spreadsheets, tools, calculators, data studies, and everything we have going on over there. Come join the fastest growing CFB community and gain access to our Discord. Use code KICKOFF for $50 off the annual plan, all caps, and code KICKOFF 2025, all caps, for $5 off the monthly plan. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace.